Yossi, if you could tell Gene a little bit about your background so he can become familiar, and then we'll go to Arnon. Please tell him a little bit about your background. Yossi?
Okay, my background is about 40 years in the industry. Um, I, I have 4 degrees, 2 in industrial engineering, operation research, second degree, uh, accounting, and second degree in financing. I was
I'm
serving.
sorry. I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt. I don't think you have enough experience then.
I'm looking for 2 more degrees.
Go ahead. Pardon me. I'm sorry.
Actually, the last 2 degrees I got in the last 5 years
Oh, wonderful.
after I retired. And my experience is as a CEO of medium to big size companies for 25 years. Steel industry, tire industry, military industry. I actually 3 months ago, when was that? I started a session with chairs, and I interrupted it due to personal reasons. So now I came back for the next session.
Absolutely.
That's
Yossi,
wonderful.
we're delighted you're here. Arnon, would you tell Gene about yourself? And then Yagev, if you could turn your camera on, we're delighted you're here.
Hi, I'm really apologize. I only have 2 degrees. I'm an electrical engineer, and again, in the last few years, I was in culture. I've done a degree in culture. I was in Telrad for many years. I was started as an R&D engineer. I then became head of a project, then head of R&D in one of the areas of Tehran. Then I was the VP in charge of business area. I was in the US for 3 years, president of the subsidiary. Then I came back to Israel, and I was for almost 10 years CEO of Radcom, which is in the public company in the NASDAQ. Then I started a company called Dia Cardio, which is doing a voice, searching for automation of ultrasound for the heart, cardiology. And now I'm starting a new company in the area of voice biomarkers.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. And Yagev, if you can turn your camera on, or can we hear you? There we are. There we are. Yagev, good morning or good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon, good morning. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
We're unbelievable. And Yagev, if you'll relate to Gene, our guest, who will introduce in a moment, a little bit about your background.
Sure. Hi, Gene. Pleased to meet you. My name is Yagev. I'm based in Israel. My background is strategic consulting and organizational consulting. Been doing this for many years now. I started in the Israeli Navy, and then I worked for a US-based consulting company called the Vistage Institute out of California. Did that for a few years, then relocated to the US, and I managed the US branch of this company for 3 years. Then I had my own consulting company focused mostly on change management and post-merger integration. After that, I was the VP of change management and organizational development for a large multinational company based out of Israel in the chemicals area, and I did that for 6 years, and then went back to consulting about a year ago. Happy to meet you.
Well,
Same
we're
here.
delighted
Thank you so
to.
much.
to have Gene with us today. I've known him for many years out of New Orleans, and not only a great Vistage chair, but also a very nice person. And so, Gene, would you tell us a little bit about your background? Where are you from originally?
Sure. I am from New Orleans. You know, New Orleans is one of the cities in the U.S. where people don't tend to leave. So for whatever reason, I've traveled a lot and lived in San Diego and California for a few years off and on. But my family, for all intents and purposes, has always been in New Orleans. I've been married for 37 years. I'm very fortunate that my wife has put up with me for that amount of time. I have two adult children, a girl and a boy. I have two granddaughters, one of which was just born last Monday. So I'm still on that kind of high. I'll tell you some of this, and some of you guys are too young for this, but it's somebody told me this, and it's absolutely true. Many things in this world are overrated. Being a grandparent is not. So,
Oh,
everybody says, oh, we just wait. But anyway, it's wonderful. My background is predominantly sales, marketing, and management. I've got a degree degree in marketing from University of New Orleans, and an MBA in management. The My career track has been sort of in the hospitality industry. Started with Hilton Hotels, also Cisco Food Service Distribution, and so I was with the VP of Sales and Marketing for Cisco, which is a large $40 billion a year food service distributor in the States. I was part of a regional office here, but we did back then, I'm going back about 20 years now, about $250 million in top line revenue. Anyway, after that, the entrepreneurial bug hit me. So we started a couple of different companies. One was a distribution, food service distributorship, similar to Cisco, but we distributed specialty items and beverage equipment here in the States, but also in Central America. Had a partner in Central America. So I've got a tiny bit of experience internationally. And then we did that and sold the business. The lion's share of my recent career before Vistage was we owned and operated a candy company that sold, believe it or not, chocolate hollow Easter rabbits. We expanded that to holiday seasons, and we took the business from it was a small regional distributor within about 100 miles of New Orleans. We took it national, started dealing with Walmart, Kmart, companies like that. So if anybody's never dealt with Walmart, I would say it's quite an experience. We were fortunate because we were a regional supplier, so we were not held to some of the stipulations folks that have to provide shelves on offer concern. My Vistage career started, strangely enough, when we sold the candy company. I was looking for some things to do. I'm sorry, like all Zoom meetings, I have my daughter's two Labrador retrievers with us for about a week. So they're coming in.
Gene, that's okay. If they want to join the meeting, we do accept animals at these meetings. You know, I
They're an
had a
eating
dog.
pot, and you can't see it with his background.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I had a dog attend one of my Vistage Zoom meetings the other day. And for the first 30 minutes, he did not look at me. And then he turned and looked at me, and the rest he stayed with it, took notes. It was great.
there you go.
And so what year did you start with Vistage? And again, how?
I've been with Vistage about 3 years now. So I was fortunate in that I now have two CE groups and one key group. I'd like to tell you that I'm the super chair and I did it all on my own, but and I did open one of my CE groups totally on my own from scratch. I did sort of inherit another CE group. Unfortunately, one of our chairs had some medical problems. So they interviewed several of us, and I was fortunate enough to be selected. So I've been with them for about 2.5 years. So there's kind of a different dynamic when you start your group from scratch, and then when you take over an existing group. So we can, if you have any questions about that, we can get in that later. But just an incredible experience. I feel like I've worked 30 years to train for this Vistage experience. Just listening to some of your backgrounds, it's really impressive. What you guys are doing is really impressive. And I think, Yossi, you said it, you've gotten 2 degrees in recent years. So as Vistage chairs, we really want to always continue learning and continue helping folks. And our members, I think, for the most part, have that same mentality. So that's my background in a nutshell.
Yeah. So Gene, you were running the candy companies, and then how did you get introduced to Vistage?
Yeah, I'm
Somebody,
sorry. We sold the candy business, and then a mutual friend of mine was a Vistage member, so I went and heard a speaker like Boaz. It was not Boaz. So I said I really like that, but I wasn't quite ready to commit to Vistage. So about 2 years went by, and you know how it is. If you ever put anything online on LinkedIn, you get bombarded by recruiters and what have you. So talked to the folks in San Diego, and just like you guys did, I went through Chair Academy and really loved it. Um, as you can imagine, the difficult part is starting a group, but once you're there, it gets easier and easier and incredibly rewarding as to what we do. You know, really affecting lives every day, and it just goes on, exponentially, the lives of your CEO groups, employees, and families, and everything. So it's really just a great career, either full-time career or career post-retirement, whatever you guys want to call it. But it's a wonderful calling, so to speak.
but have you found, Gene, over the time as you've gotten closer to your members, that it's become much more than a practice or business, that it's become a relationship thing with your members? I know you are terrific with your members.
Without question, you'll hear as you guys go through training, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you got to do this. Two things. Yeah, you have to be yourself, but you have to build a relationship with your members. I've been fortunate to do that. And folks say, members join Vistage unequivocally for business reasons, but they stay for relationships, not only with us as chairs, but with other members of the groups. You spend a tremendous amount of time with these folks. Um, you there? Okay. I thought I
Yeah.
lost my feed. Spend a lot of time with these folks, certainly in group meetings on a monthly basis, but one-to-ones, you get to learn sort of the intimate details of their lives and their professional lives. So it's really critical that you accept that and get involved with them. As all of you guys have had successful careers and you hear, well, you don't want to get too close to your employees. You want to keep that separately. This is a totally different level. You're at the same level as these folks. And many times it's difficult to separate business from personal, especially for them, especially from the entrepreneurial side. In the States, there's a lot of family businesses, second, third, fourth generation. So the more you learn and get to know these folks, the more empathetic you can be. And as a Vistage chair, obviously, you want to show leadership, but you also need to show some vulnerability too. So it cuts both ways. Have you guys seen the study sheets and the IE and the selection? I don't know if you've got to that level yet. Have you seen any of those materials from Vistage? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you real quick without going too much of a tangent. Vistage is very good at surveying folks, asking questions, and there are 5 really functions that we ask people all the time. These are the 5 most common ones that Vistage members say they've gathered from being Vistage. 1 is making better decisions. 2 would be accountability. 3 is growing professionally and personally. 4 is isolationism, loneliness at the top. And 5 is change management. So whenever I have a new prospect, I read those off to them and tell them what 1 or 2 resonate with you. So I'll ask you guys, what do you think is the number 1 reason or issue people have joining Vistage? CEOs tell me when they join. You remember? I'll read through those again, really. Okay, making better decisions, accountability, growing personally and professionally, isolationism, loneliness at the top, which is the same thing, and then change management. Any comments, questions, guesses? What do you think?
The 5th one was which one? Isolation, and 5 was
4 was isolation, 5 was change management.
yeah. Anybody have any
What was
idea?
3?
What do you?
3 again?
1 is making better decisions. 2 is accountability. 3 is growth professionally and personally. 4 is isolation. 5 is change management. There's no right or wrong here, guys. We're just
Yeah, I would think isolation. I'm just thinking they feel like they're on their own. Anita, what do you think of those 5? What do you think is the reason?
I think making the right decisions, just because being lonely, it's a consequence of, making, the right decisions. sometimes based on being lonely on the top, not knowing, how to get the right information, get out of the weeds. Some of the things that with Vistage helps a lot of CEOs. Just making the right decisions. I think that's what CEOs do all day, right? Every day.
Yeah.
Making
Yeah,
decisions.
Gav, what do you think of these five?
I would guess this. By the way, the five are reasons for joining or reasons for staying.
Primarily issues that they have that they'd like to improve upon as CEOs and leaders. So probably the reasons to stay, if I had to say that. Yeah, I mean, excuse me, reasons to join.
I'm having a hard choosing between isolation and professional and personal growth. So those are my top two.
Good.
Yossi, what do you think of those five? Would people join most for?
What I thought is not exactly, but similar to what Anita said, to better decisions. But I think better decision is how, and I think that they are coming. That, in my view, is they are coming because they would like to share their experience with others, and via that also to learn from the experience of other CEOs.
Yeah. Arnon, what do you think?
I think it's change management. I think that one of the problems of CEOs is always to keep on changing the company. And I think that not always CEOs are aware of that, but they need to always be aware of where they are and what changes they can do in order to improve the company. And I think that that's something that a lot of the CEOs miss.
Yeah. Gene,
Well,
what do you think?
yeah. The first of all, you're all correct. It's really a combination of all those. Growth, personally and professionally, is up there, but unequivocally, by far and away, the most popular is the isolationism. They don't have someone to talk to. They can't discuss these things with their partner, with their staff, with their wife, with their attorney. So, as you guys know and will know, the Vistage groups, man, are really a safe haven for them to talk about anything. We also say, look, you are very successful people. Your members are successful people. They're used to answering questions, getting things done. We like to step back and question the answers. Okay. So it's anything that they like to talk about that they've never had a chance to. You'll also experience, I guarantee you, remember this, your first one-to-one, they're going to say things like, wow, Yossi, I feel much better already just saying that out loud. Whatever the issue is, could be personal, could be professional, could have a partner that they say, you know what, our vision is not quite the same. My exit strategy is in 10 years. I don't know what my partner's is. So that's just a little, from what I've found, very unscientific, but talking to lots of other chairs, the isolationism is much higher than I thought. And it is by far and away the most popular answer that folks give.
Which leads me, Gene, to the question that goes directly to Israel. The culture there is a little different from what we've seen all over the world, especially the US and so forth. I'd like Anita to explain to you, what a small community we are and why people will wonder, why do I need to pay somebody for advice in Israel? Anita, can you explain to Gene what the situation is? And then we want his insight on helping us.
So there are two challenges. One is the recruiting challenge, and the other one is why do I need to pay for something that I'm getting free? And the reason why is Israel is a small country, and people are well connected, obviously from the military, from everybody knows everybody. It's a very small place, and they pick up the phone and they consult. So it's very easy for them to get advice on certain things, but to overcome this, I always ask, CEOs, are you comfortable sharing everything with this person? Do you really give them all the information? Do you get professional advice, or is it, an instinctive advice? Sometimes people tell you what they think, but do you really give them all the information that they need? So that's one challenge. that people say, why do I need to pay? I'm getting it for free.
Sure.
So that, yeah.
I can appreciate and thank you for sharing some of the cultural differences, but I think it's always, people say it's not about the money. For all intents and purposes, it's always about the money. We try not to make it about the money, but two things when you talk about that is whoever their contacts are, maybe a constituent within the industry, are they really telling the whole truth? Are there any connections to them, whether it means their job or a bonus or a reference from another company? What we do in Vistage also, remember, total confidentiality. Everything we say and talk about and discuss is confidential. So the groups become almost your de facto board of directors, but they have no relationship initially with each member. Now that does evolve and gets very, very strong, but they have no ties. They have no qualms with calling somebody out and say, why the hell would you do that? Okay. So I don't care how big and how successful you are, and especially some folks in the industry may do that. Now, again, if they have others in the industry they talk to, that's understandable. But this is every month, month in, month out. In addition to meeting with you guys one to one, you are going to get unfiltered, accurate feedback. Vistage has a term that came up called a made up word called carefrontation. Okay, so it's confrontational with somewhat of care. So we'll tell you, we might say, Anita, why the hell would you do that? Why are you still holding on to this marketing person or whatever? Or why are you paying this much for your advertising budget? Another thing is, like you said, do they really lay out everything? We lay out financial statements to everyone. Okay. I encourage members to do that. It's very rare when somebody won't share it. They might be a public company, which we don't have too many of in Vistage. I don't know if you may or may not. Sometimes they'll want members to sign an NDA, but as a rule, we are just fully transparent. So they will lay their financials out. And you can't do that with many people outside of your company, is my thought. So again, you get unfiltered, friendly, helpful advice, good, bad, and indifferent as to how you're operating your business. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah. And Gene, if you'll speak about the return, people are saying, why am I going to spend in Israel? It's going to be $1,000 equivalent to $1,000 US to join, and $1,000 a month to become a member. Can you talk about the return that you've seen for your members for their investment?
Sure. I personally don't talk too much about the money because, and some of you might say this guy's crazy, but it's really relatively inexpensive. If you can pull one idea, one new project that you glean from that, and one or two a month, or one or two every few months, this pays for itself many, many, many times over. I've seen it many, many times. It's incredible. The resources you gain, the expertise in that room when you have 10, 12, 15 other CEOs and business owners, they've been through the wars like you have. Let's face it, everybody has 4 or 5 of the same issues, but then they have some things that are pertinent to their respective business. Someone in that room has been through it. I had one of my members recently, he's selling his company. Well, one of my other members has just been through that. So he got investment bankers. He laid out everything, told him about some of the pitfalls. Members do business with one another, off and on. We don't encourage or discourage that. After a while, we certainly do encourage it. But the resources among the folks, that collective brain power is worth a tremendous, tremendous amount of money. Just the fact that you can go in front of a group like that and hear the stories, hear how they handle a particular problem. Are you guys familiar with how Vistage does issue processing? Or that's a big thing of what we do.
Academy, she understands. Yeah.
Good. So a big thing of what we do is certainly in the afternoon sessions, and you can do it differently. So, we take 3 or 4 members, whatever, and they talk about a particular issue, problem, opportunity. And then sometimes it might be, well, this doesn't really apply to me. And sometimes they kind of zone out. Well, as a chair, it's your mission to get them back in. But there's always something you can glean from that issue. Always something every one of your members will learn from talking, discussing about that. Remember, we don't go in and say, because again, you're all trained to say, we're gonna answer this problem. Well, Anita had a problem with this marketing person. Obviously, I'm making this up, right? Well, fire him. No, that's not the point. What's the real question? Well, then you might say, Anita, well, this is my third marketing director in a year, and they just haven't done with what we wanted. So the group may say, well, Anita, the common denominator in this may be you. How are you interviewing? Do you giving this person the right goals and instructions starting out? So who knows? So we question things, we ask open-ended questions, and it is just a virtual learning session every month. Not least of which, when we have renowned speakers like Boaz. These speakers, and I'm not just saying this because Boaz is here and he invited me to sit in with you guys, but they are just a wonderful, wonderful resource, incredible talents those folks give. And then, as you know, they can offer their services to your members from time to time. They'll come in and do workshops for the members as well. That's part of the gig as a Vistage speaker. They get in front of so many CEOs on a regular basis, so they can of course sell their wares. We encourage that, and they do it very tactfully. They're not up there hawking and bothering your members. They do it in a really, really professional way. And I tell my members, encourage them to use them, but you don't ever have to. So if someone wants to use it, fantastic. We had a speaker last week on asset protection. He was a tax attorney and a specialist in asset protection for business owners and executives, and to how to protect and insure your assets. So it was an extremely popular topic. So I'm getting a little off track, but anyway.
You're fine, Gene. Before we open up to questions from everybody, I want to ask you one other thing. What was your toughest challenge when you were recruiting your first CE group? What were some of your challenges when you began?
Sure, that's easy. What's Vistage? What's a peer group? What is, why the hell are you calling me? So the challenge is really when starting from scratch, and just it becomes a numbers game. And the challenge is early on trying not to sell. And I know that may sound counterproductive, but we truly are recruiting people to join our groups. It is a great opportunity for them. Are we selling somewhat, but you don't want to be too salesy, if you will. So with my background, I was very excited and very enthused about what I was doing. And like many times, I was speaking too much. I was just going on and on and on. The challenge is early on is to let the prospective candidates just talk. Tell them a little about what we do, but find out more about them. People tend to like to talk about themselves, especially successful people. Tell me about your success. How did you do? How did you open another unit? Whatever. So, and of course, going with that is, where do I get prospective members? How do I pull a list? I don't know, Israel being a small country, there, many people know many others. So it's a matter of using LinkedIn, using your resources locally, using folks that can referrals, whether it be attorneys, CPAs, folks like that who come in contact with a lot of business owners. So the key is just to have the mental discipline and putting time on your calendar every day to be looking for members. So I will say this, that's the hardest part. It does get easier once you have a little bit established.
And Gene, once you recruited 2 or 3 members, did you also get them to help you to get other members that could help them in the group? Did you get them to help you?
Yeah, it's an interesting, and I know some chairs have struggled with this, like, well, I'm just building the group. I don't want to put the burden on other members. Wrong. The other members should and can assist you greatly. Remember, they're not helping you, they're helping the group. We want more people around the table. We want more experience. We want more brain power. So yes, once you get someone in, then you can say, well, I have the CEO of a bank, I have a CEO of a manufacturing company, and the referrals And I'll use them from time to time, either in a phone call or meet for breakfast or coffee to talk to that prospective member. And I tell you what, the close rate when I have another member meet with a prospective member is almost 100%. I mean, it is just, it's powerful when you have a third party talking about the group and you, than you having to just talk about yourself and how great you are, right?
Exactly. So once you sign up one member, am I correct, Gene? You now have a tremendous power. It's not 1 and 1, it's like 11 when you put 1 and 1 together, because
Yeah,
you'll get that new member on the phone with a prospect,
sure.
and suddenly it begins to move. So chairs are not there by themselves. So let's go around and ask any questions of Gene. Yagev, do you have any questions of our great chair guest?
Yeah, just one. So we see basically two barriers of resistances that people could have. One was already mentioned, and that's the money. The other one is time. And again, the time commitment here is quite significant. So people are going to be joining the Vistage group for one day a month, which is quite a lot, especially for busy people that I don't think they can imagine how they can commit to that. How do you tackle that issue? How do you deal with that with people who you're trying to get to join, and they say, no, I just don't have the time to do that?
Yeah, Gary, that's a great question because people ask that all the time, especially prospective members. Say, Gene, does anybody ever say that that's a lot of time? And my answer is no. Everybody says it's a lot of time. That objection is even stronger than the money part. Well, I'm so busy, I have to do this. And my response is quickly, well, then that's exactly why you need to join our group. Exactly why. I explain to folks that we look at it like from 30,000 feet, right? It's the old axiom, you need to be working on your business, not in your business. We're going to take you out of your element for one full day a month, and you won't have any distractions. You won't have any interruptions. And you have to commit that time, but it's the best time you're going to spend. I'll also tell you this, and people realize this, once they do, first, second, even third meeting, they're like, oh my God, I can't wait to come to Vistage meetings. Think about it when you're traveling. When you do your best thinking, somebody says, well, I'm flying, when I'm on a plane, somebody says, well, I'm in the shower, so well, I don't want too much details on that. But when you get away, to be able to put your own thoughts and think, okay? So we're doing that for one day a month with a whole cross section of your peers, and they're all there for the same reasons, all provoking thought. Okay. So the other thing is that accountability. Yeah, you have to be accountable. What I do and what most chairs do is I set the calendar a year out. I send my 2021 calendar came out in October of 2020. So I insist everybody puts that date on your calendar, and you do have to make Vistage a priority. You can't say, well, I've got a client. Some people say, treat Vistage as if we're one of your top 5 clients. You have a Vistage meeting on the third Wednesday of every month, whatever it happens to be. So you do set those dates in stone. So whatever that is, you make that clear to them, and those do not change. And then you make it clear you want them at every meeting, every function we ever do. I want you there. Now, between you and I, we know that life and work sometimes get in the way, but I would say that most members make close to 11 meetings a year, maybe 10 to 11. So we don't want them missing any. We want them making every one. But I'll guarantee you, and you can guarantee this to them, the time factor becomes less and less of an issue just after a few meetings, So the other thing is it kind of helps them out. Look, if you can't be away from your business for one day, then how are you going to be away for a week or two when you go on vacation, or God forbid you get sick, or you have to attend to a family for some reason, So it's great for them as the member. It's great for their staff. And guess what? Their staff begins to look forward to that day a month when they're out of the office. So it trains you how to use your time better as a member, and it trains your staff that they can actually subsist with you not being there.
Yeah. And I've heard it many times over the years,
Yeah.
Gene, 18 years as a speaker, where people tell me at first, I was never going to commit this amount of time. And they say now I would never miss one of my Vistage meetings because it's so valuable. Yossi, any questions for Gene?
I have a lot of questions, but
Please. I have a lot of answers. Some of them right, hopefully. I don't know though.
yeah, but
No guarantees.
during the Chair Academy, I will get also a lot of answers. But from your experience, the first chair group, how long it took you to establish this group?
That's a great question. An academy that you're gonna hear, oh, you're gonna hear 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. You know, it took me about 10 months to start my
10
first.
months.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you earlier, but that's the fact. After about 6 months, I had 6 members, and I don't know if they changed this. I don't know what your criteria is. Vistage wants you to have 8 members to start a group. Is that still what you're looking at?
Yeah. Yes, Gene. Yes.
So I took that group and I just started as if we were a working group. And by the way, they were not paying at that point. So it was all pro bono. So it took another 3.5, almost 4 months to get my 8th member to do that. But again, it has to be, you just have to have the mental discipline. You may do it, the OC, in 4 to 6 months. It also depends upon, do you have a list of folks that you think may be potential candidates, you know? So the quicker you do that, the better. I think also I was a little late utilizing things like LinkedIn. Um, can't believe that I'm saying this, but I was a little hesitant with asking some of those members for referrals. You know, especially as a new chair, I wanted them to get a good experience. You know, it's like they're with me for 4 months. Hey, you want to tell everybody how great this is? Well, we only got 4 or 5 people. You know, if we had 10, 12, it's a different thing. So it's just about utilizing your time and carving out time on the calendars. That's what you do every day. So and also, I don't know how many of you have ever done any sales or recruiting type thing. It's different. If you haven't done it, it's a different ball game. You know, you're used to, as a CEO, you're used to people listening to whatever you say. You've got to set ego aside where you call in and you get somebody's assistant and they're not only going to let you talk to them, you know. So the other aspect is every time you talk to someone, make sure that your enthusiasm level is there, even if you got somebody that told you no right now. I do have a question for you guys too. Is no a bad answer with a prospect? Somebody says no, I'm not interested in that.
I don't think so. Shows at least they're responding. Am I right, Gene? At least they're saying something.
Absolutely. That's another thing I can tell you that I think I struggled with at first. I would hang on to prospects too long. They either wouldn't tell me no, or they say, oh, it sounds good. I want to do this. And maybe I'll talk to my partner. I'll wait. You know, I'd rather them tell me no. That way I'll move on and go to something else. But as a new chair, I really wanted that member. So don't spend too much time if somebody won't commit in a relatively short period of time. Now, again, you just have to have a feel for that. If the person legitimately says, well, maybe in a month, you know, I'm doing my profit planning, strategic planning, I'll get back to you then. So you got to give that some chance too.
And how do
Gene,
you maintain your connections to, well, the first chairs members that agree to be in the group? Let's say the first month or second month. So how do you still maintain with them? They will not forget you.
Well, that's critical time. When you have 2 or 3, 4 members and you're not a full functioning group, then you really need to stay in touch with them on the phone, one-to-ones. You know, let them know, hey, I'm building this group. What are your thoughts? And I would meet with them. And then early on, we would meet as a small group and we'd talk about certain things. We wouldn't have speakers yet, but we would just go through some of the principles in some of the meetings and talk about issues as if we were a group, because you don't want to let them hang on. If you don't touch them, they may get fed up and say, you know, this isn't for me. So the timing is critical. You do want to get going pretty quickly, but yeah, and maybe you don't have to have a formal meeting, but I would touch those folks every week and a half or so, or you know, if not more.
And you know what we're going to do in Israel to give support to our new chairs as they come out of academy in a couple of weeks is we're going to start having every Monday a quick marketing meeting with all the chairs. What are we doing? What are your numbers? How did you do, Gene, last week? Anita, how did you do to keep everybody moving in the same direction? And we're also going to make available, you know, for prospects to get on a Zoom call with me or with Anita, you know, where our new chairs may not have experience. I have 18 years of experience with Vistage. So don't you think that will all help?
I'm a huge proponent, and again, you guys are established, successful, and it's almost like stepping back, but practice and role play. You know, if this is not something you've ever done, or you're not used to being rejected, or what the hell is Vistage? You know, you have to hold your fire. You know, you're not because you don't want to hang up on someone, or if you're meeting in person with someone. So the techniques, the questions, the wording, that's very, very important. It's almost like, boy, you really like to have them in your group, but you don't need them. You know, it's almost a slight bit of arrogance in that you don't want to look needy and that, boy, I really want you in the group. And and if you have 4 or 5, especially if you have 6, 7, and you need that one more to launch, you still need to be diligent. You still need to do the right things. You don't want to reach for someone who may not be a good member. So it's just very important. Some of the way you word things, some of the way you ask questions, the confidence in which you do that. You know, I'm starting a group, or as opposed to we have 4 members, and our goal for the year is to have 15, 16 members. So it's a wonderful thing that we're starting in Israel. Let's face it, many people know many people, but this is just an organization that's worldwide, and there's numerous methodologies, numerous scripts, and as you go through Chair Academy, they give you scripts. Excuse me. The advice I have for you that is certainly just be yourself. You know, utilize what works for you. Just don't just repeat the script verbatim. Although I've had some trainers from Vistage Academy saying, if you're tweaking it, you're weakening it. So they want you to. There's some parameters that you really need to stay on. So you want the folks to know what's what, but you have to be yourself. You have to come across as enthusiastic. You want to tell them this, how fired up you are about having this group, and what is a peer group. Watch some of the work. I have an advisory peer group, and the prospect might say, what the hell is an advisory peer group? What do you do? So I would also ask you guys, and they're very big on this too, is why you're doing this. I don't know if any of you read Simon Sinek, or you've seen some of his TED Talks, the status of why. So many people buy from you or join from you, not so much about what you do, but why you do it. So don't hesitate to tell your story. Yossi, tell your story. You've got 4 degrees, 2 recently. Why? Because you know what? You have that quest for learning. And you not only have that quest for learning, you want everyone else to kind of share that with you to get better professionally and personally. It might be as simple as that, or I want to give back to the community. Look, I've done this. I've been very successful. I've been fortunate. I really have a desire to help people. I have a financial background. I have prospects that are not too keen on financials, so I help them with that. Whatever it is, that's going to come through. Okay.
Absolutely. Arnaud, do you have a question for Gene?
Yes. How many of your recruits are people you knew, and how many of them are recruits that you found on LinkedIn? I mean, what is the percentage from your group?
Well, you're not going to be happy with this answer. I'm sorry to tell you. And it may be different from you, but of course, coming out of Cherokee, I had a list, and I knew all these people, and I did all this work, and I've been in this community for 30. I've been here all my life, so I knew a lot of people. And I'm telling you is that my personal references, the success rate was very, very low, very low. And I've talked to a lot of chairs. Some may say, hey, I've got some, and they were joining. So referrals may be good, but you can't count on that. You have to dig on your own. You have to look at LinkedIn, look at business resource publications or whatever. Now, you certainly may get some, but I was disappointed, frankly, in the number of members that I got from my personal contacts compared to just digging it out on my own.
So what was what was your first step? How to introduce the story of Vintage? What did you do to do that? The first stage. I mean, cold call. You're talking with someone. What are you telling them?
Yeah, starting out, cold call is a way to do it. LinkedIn, I found LinkedIn way more effective. And again, Yossi, I think my time would have been, I think I would have started a group quicker had I used LinkedIn more aggressively. Okay. Because you can, again, just throw out, um, you know, join request to LinkedIn, connection request. And then Vistage has numerous email plans where, here's my connection request. And then, hey, let's get coffee and let's do this. You can't put too much in that little request and tell them, oh, I have a Vistage group and we do this. People don't want to read that. You need to be concise. The best thing to do, you need to talk to that person on the phone quickly, and even better, meet them in person as quickly as possible. And don't give them the entire spiel, if you will, right out of the gate. And again, it's more about asking them about their business. So, did I answer the question? LinkedIn was more effective
I,
for me.
for me, I was business development as a in the last company, and I
Yeah.
used LinkedIn tremendously.
Right.
And as you said, you send them a request, call request with only 1 or 2 lines of
Yep.
this is what I'm doing. Let's talk, and sometimes it works, but it's. For me, I was glad that you said it was not from the relation, but from the LinkedIn, which for me is even easier and make more sense.
Well, then it gives you a quick in. People will accept connection requests. Let's face it, they'll do that pretty readily. So
By the
then,
way, when I send the first request, I don't write anything, because anything that he's looking at, he said, "Wow, this is interesting guy. He has a lot of experience. Maybe I should connect to him." And then after he accepts your request, then you start. Let's talk about things. That's the method I use to call people.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you make it very brief, very simple at first, but then it gives you the foray to either call or follow up with an email or a LinkedIn message, and they go, oh yeah, well, we're a connection on LinkedIn. The other thing is once you get some members, and I've had moderate success with this, once you have a group or have several members, then you can ask them to help you with LinkedIn, and you can actually go into them and look at their first and second connections. So you can see who they are, and then again use their list. So that really increases your level of potential candidates.
Okay.
Gene, just for clarity,
I
the
have
only way.
one more question about that.
Yeah, right with you, Yossi. Just 1 second. I just want to make a point here very clearly, and that is Yossi, Arnon, Yagev, and our other chair candidates all came from our LinkedIn campaign. We did nothing else. This was all from LinkedIn, all from
There you go.
LinkedIn. And we started with 0. I had no connections. I knew Anita, and that was it. So we just started, and here we are.
Anita is a neighbor, so it's a.
We live in the same city.
Yeah, Yossi, please.
You say that you used also the second and the third level in the LinkedIn. You don't see a problem that somebody who knows the other person in the group joining together?
Yes and no. Again, one of the big things in the group is confidentiality or conflicts. Okay. So I don't know how closely you guys follow that rule. I do follow it closely in that we discuss so much. We want people to speak freely. All right. So if it's a competitor, then certainly they're out. They're not, it depends. Some people, it depends on how closely they know the person. And sometimes if they're personal friends, they may or may not want them in the group. But you can't let the members dictate that. You have to dictate that, but also be open with them. You've got a member and say, hey, I have this person, here's their background. I don't see any particular conflict unless you do. and again, I guess that's more, once you're more established, you go to the group and let them know who that is. So, but to answer your question, it could present a problem, but you have to be wary of that, especially in a small country where a lot of people know a lot of people, especially in the industry. You have to watch out that, I'll just put, suppose you have an architect in the group and you don't necessarily want to have a competing architect. You have a chemical manufacturer, maybe they do certain things, whatever, but you just don't, you want it so people or feel free to talk openly about it. I'll give you an example. I have a member in one group who owns 20 restaurants in the region. He's a restaurateur. Now I have another member in that group. He's a food service distributor. And what he does is sell to restaurants. They are okay with that. They also know they keep, they do a little business. They don't do a lot of business together, but they know how to keep their distances, and they're okay with sharing that because there's so many people in that market. It's just really, really spread thinly. So, but that is important to talk to the particular members. But again, as the chair, I try to dominate that conversation. And the rule of thumb is if the existing member or potential member is uncomfortable, then we're not going to have them in the group. So you may refer them to an ANONS group or something like that. So, but I wouldn't let that stop me, certainly in the early going. Okay.
Anita, do you have a question for Jean?
For me, I think the recruiting is the main one that you pretty much answered. That's one of the challenges that we have.
Sure.
Both and I spoke earlier, so it was really helpful. This is it pretty much.
Well, one of the things is what you guys are going to do is share ideas. Say, hey, let each other know what's been successful for you. Look, I've used LinkedIn or I've cold called. I went to a function, whatever is efficient for your time. The thing is, probably you have to reach out to probably more people than you think right now to garner members, and that's just fact. It does become a numbers game where you have, oh, this looks good, yeah, I'm thinking about well, thinking about it doesn't cut it. You need people to do that. I will tell you this, everybody's going to tell you the same thing. The most difficult thing is recruiting and starting a group, especially you folks who are starting in a country where Vistage doesn't exist. But that's also the good side too, because everyone is a potential member, right? It absolutely, unequivocally gets easier once you have a few members in hand, once you have a group started, once you have had speakers in there. I'll go to a step down the road, but suppose you have 8 or 10 members and you started, and I have this wonderful speaker named Boaz. I don't know what this guy's thing is, but everything's unbelievable. This guy's incredible. So invite a potential member to sit in on that section of the meeting. Extremely, extremely powerful. They get to see, wow, look, what we do, Vistage is kind of a 3-pronged approach, right? It's the peer group where we sit in a group format and we do issue processing and everything else. Then we have these wonderful speakers that we have 8 times a year, roughly, or however many you guys designate. And then we have the one-on-one coaching with you. So that's the 3-pronged approach, and however your members respond to that, it really works. Not to count out Boaz or myself, but probably if I had to put a percentage on it, they would say the interaction without the group. But I think followed closely by the chair, the speakers and what they bring, and the chairs. It really truly is 3-pronged. But again, if I had to say what's the predominant one, I would say the affiliation with everybody in the group, the changing of ideas, the different perspectives, the learning from everyone in that group as well. Okay.
Jean, as we near the end of our hour, I'm so grateful for your time, and I think I speak for everyone here. Would it be okay if we share your email address if they have a question or something afterwards? Would that be okay, Jean?
By all means, I was going to offer that. So anytime, please send me an email. Don't hesitate. I think what's the time difference? So if you email me at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm not likely to get back to you too soon because I'll be sleeping. What is it, 8 hour time difference? I think?
8 from Central, exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
Central Time US. So by all means, please do that. And then as you meet folks in Chair Academy and other chairs, absolutely do that. Pick everybody's brain. Everybody in Vistage is happy to do that, you know. And then amongst yourselves, please talk amongst yourselves. Get on the phone and call, hey, what's going on? What's successful? You know, look, you guys are building a brand. Yeah, you're all building individual groups, but you're all in it for the same reason. And the more successful each individual becomes, it's going to be easier for you guys as a group. So
Absolutely.
you've got my email address, obviously, boys. So please forward
Yeah,
that to
I'll share it.
everyone.
Absolutely. I think the highlight for me today was the fact that when you have one member signed up, you suddenly have a tremendous power, and team up with that first member to get the next one. Am I right, Gene? This is a tremendous power that shouldn't be bypassed. Get that new member
Yeah.
with a prospect on the phone.
Absolutely, because if you talk to folks, how many members do you have? Well, I don't have any yet, but but now I have one or have two. Well, we started off with this member, and then it just escalates pretty quickly. After
You
that.
can tell them you are not the second and not the third one.
So you have the privilege of being the first. You wait. One thing we do. Let's see if I have one right here. I'm looking around. I don't. Yeah, hang on 1 second. Pardon me.
And by the way, the moment when we let Gene go, what I want to do is Anita and oh, okay, wait, look at this. The founding member, they get this.
I say founding member because you have the opportunity of being a founding member of our group. And it may sound a little trite at first, but it is effective. It is very effective. They're a founding member of what you're starting. And then, you know, everybody gets we get these nameplates, right, in the meeting, and it works very well. So the first, however many you open with, 10 people, they're going to have founding member on that nameplate. And it's sort of bragging rights. And it does work. It is very
I've
effective.
seen it. They proudly show that. They proudly show that.
Yeah.
Gene, we're so grateful for your time. If you don't mind, we may call on you again in the future to come back and chat with us. We're very, very grateful for your insights. Would you all agree? Just tremendous insights. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.